So I'm here today with Tammy De Mirza, and we have met before through audio interview. It was an amazing experience for me to
Mhm.
have met not just her, but so many of these beautiful people that she calls older souls or old souls. That's the main topic of our conversation today. Although I have two questions about freedom, which has to do with that too, I believe. So I'll be asking you a few questions, two questions about freedom, Tammy.
Okay.
But before that, I wanted to introduce you. Tammy is the Breakthrough Alchemist, an experienced intuitive guide who helps people understand their unconscious mind, create the freedom they desire, and transform their lives. So you do have that word freedom here. Good. And you have written two books, one that we have discussed in one of our interviews audio. It's titled The Inmate and the Medium.
Mhm.
And the new book, which is titled 65 Signs That You Are an Older Soul. Uncover the unique challenges that keep you stuck. What can I say? I have to pause again. So, as I said off record, this it really resonated deeply because I always felt different. I could not fit into anything like school systems and my classmates, my family to begin with, and always wondered why. The question why am I feeling so different when everyone seems to be normal and they seem to interact with this reality in a much more let's say easy way, although it's not easy for anyone,
Easier.
right?
Yeah.
Seems, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I guess my first question is, how did you become the person, the human being first that you are today, Tammy? Talk to me about that.
I would say that every single scenario that I had, in my childhood and growing up, we look at those as being problems, but they're actually the creation and the choices that you make within them actually define who you are, not the
Mm,
experience. But the defining of who you are is what you do with it, because it's going to rain
mm.
and sleet and snow and hail and sunshine on every single one of us. It's
Yeah.
what we choose to do with it. And I remember
Mm.
as a very young teenager saying to God, I can either choose to be bitter because of these things, or I can choose to be better. And once I chose
Ah,
to be better, I've
mm.
used the better rule every single time. What can I learn from this? Not how bad am I? How awful these mistakes are? How terrible of an action I did? It's more about how can I use it
Yeah.
to define the true me that is fighting to come out. To me, that's freedom.
Yeah. What a beautiful way of thinking about it. And the more I listen to you when you speak of choice, I think about moments in my life where I didn't feel like I had a choice. I was just very reactive and just doing everything, um, responding from trauma, really, from what had
Yes.
happened to me.
Mhm.
So, at what point did you did you discover that you had an option to choose? Because for me, it lasted 37 years. I'm 45 now.
I would say that the hardest part is coming to the choice in
Yeah.
everything in life.
Mm.
We actually have a choice every single minute of the day. We
Ah,
don't know that we're choosing. So I would say the compilation of exploring the feelings as an intuitive, as an empath, as somebody who was reading energy from everybody around me, from my family situation as well as my own feelings,
yeah.
starting to realize what a victim is and that victims really
Mm.
do not have
Mm.
choices.
Right.
They are things just happen to them. It's
Right.
one of the most disempowering things that we
Mm.
can do, and it puts us into a prison. So,
Mm.
in watching and feeling
Yeah.
fear, I literally, Valerie, could see
Yeah.
fear in front of me, like coming up very close to me, going, "Oh, oh, oh, no, no,
Yeah.
oh God, no."
Yeah.
And then I finally realized through my communication and being able to ask these questions, choose. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Are you telling me that fear is actually trying to help me to make a choice.
Mm,
Yes. So what
mm,
I found was that every single time I faced the fear, sometimes it would take me a while when I was much younger to realize it. Now I realize I even know it's coming. And so I prepare
mm.
for it and go, here's my decision. You don't even have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It was trial and error, and then finally I started realizing, Valeria, that
Yeah.
once I made a choice, whoosh, all of it disappeared. Fear
Yeah.
disappeared. And sometimes I just say, I'm facing you and I'm going to walk through you. I'm
Right.
intentionally going to do this. And the moment that I took a step, or the moment that I acknowledged that it was only fear that I was facing, completely dissipate like a cloud. And I would go, wow, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel that feeling of
Hmm.
overwhelmed, can't make a decision, stuck,
Mm.
lost, playing small, all of the things that I'm going to be writing about for the older souls. So the
I,
problem is that older souls are much more sensitive.
ah,
Physical beings, we're much more sensitive. So because of that, we have a tendency to feel things much greater.
yeah.
I was explaining this to a client of mine this morning who was actually a healer. And I said, when you jump into the fire that somebody else is creating, you don't just, a younger soul would look at the candle and kind of, how you put the hand
Mhm.
over the
Yeah.
candle and it will burn
Yeah.
you. Well, an
Yeah.
older soul will just jump into the fire and try to move the logs and
Ah.
feel the heat. It's like 100 times worse
Mm.
because you're much more sensitive. So when you do
Mm.
that, you're not realizing that your abilities that you have, that you earned in other lives, are actually there as
Ah.
benefits to read it and read it faster. But who
Mm.
is teaching us how to read it?
Mm. Right.
Who's teaching us how to use our abilities
Right.
to actually make decisions, to
Right.
overcome it, to walk through it, to make choices? That's what I do.
Oh wow. Yeah. You help the older souls to navigate this reality in a more I would say natural way because that's who they are, right? That's what
Absolutely.
they're working with their own energies. It's already there. It's not hidden. Um, the question I have is: you just mentioned now about different lifetimes. So older souls. That's how they come to be, Tammy.
It's not necessarily in the number of the other lives. I call it other lives because according to quantum physics, we are living these all at one time.
Mm,
It
right,
explains why the irrational fears, I can't go
right,
over a bridge, I can't do this, spiders,
right,
snakes.
right.
It's because we're experiencing these in other paradigms. So we kind of
Mm,
feel them and the lines get blurred and they cross over. I didn't really
ah,
believe in other lives
ah,
until I had an experience in the Vatican
yeah,
that was so overwhelming that there was no question. And the confirmation that I got, even from a French artist that I was studying with, and he told me that he
yeah.
knew that we had painted in the Vatican and showed me the picture of where I had the
Ah,
experience. I couldn't question it any longer. It's
yeah,
really an older soul, I would define as someone who has overcome the curriculum, overcome the life lessons. It's not about how many lives. I mean, we hear that, Jesus and Buddha and some of these people did it in one. I doubt it, but
right, right.
it's about how fast we're moving. So the
Mm,
more clearing you do, it's like if you consider that this is a space and
yeah,
it's pretty finite, the more clearing you do, the more that space is free and the
right.
more intuitive information comes in, then the brain starts to rewire itself. And
Mm,
everything that I do can be explained by science. I
right.
am using different capacities of the brain because the more work that you do, the more clearing that you do, the more free you become,
Mm.
the more your abilities are uncovered.
It makes a lot of sense, especially when you say that we are living actually parallel lives this is not like lifetimes in the past, because there's no past anyway or future. Everything's happening now, right? That makes sense to me. I don't know to what into the mind, because the mind tends not to understand these things. But how do we know when we are closer even to complete that curriculum? Yeah, and what
Mm.
happens next? It's something that do we come back to help others after we have overcome the curriculum, or we just stay in a spiritual form or the formless form to help others in that way? And this is what you call intuitive kind of listening or thinking.
Intuitive is the capacity to go past. If I were to explain it, a medium is somebody like, let's start with a psychic. Okay, a
Yeah, yeah,
psychic can read the auric field around us and get information that way.
yeah,
They're not mediums. Mediums, and the bottom of the totem pole as a medium is communicating with people that have transitioned.
right.
And then it goes layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. There's like
Ah,
a whole schematic thing of mediumship abilities. When you are moving into mastery level is when you are way beyond just communicating with somebody that is transitioned, but you're communicating with their guides, their angels, and then you get into the subconscious and the conscious
ah,
mind and the
ah,
superconscious
right.
and the masters of the masters of the masters.
Mm,
And you're communicating and getting all of this information. What I find that is beneficial for me, and this answers one of your questions, and I'm going to address it because you ask about 7 questions. So I'm
yes,
gonna
right.
keep
I did.
no, it's good. I love your enthusiasm and that you actually want to know. And I want to share as much as we can in this time
Yeah,
because I want to support people in their growth because everybody is in their curriculum.
yeah.
Before you came in, you decided who your parents would be, who
Ah,
your possible love interest would be, what school you would go to, what your
wow.
hair would look like. We get so upset over our physical things, but we actually chose them. We chose our skin, we
Ah,
chose our ethnicity, we chose
mm,
everything. And then we come in to do that curriculum. Well, believe it or not, even the personalities, even the level of intelligence or lack of intelligence,
mm,
whether or not I have a sense of humor, all of this is chosen by me
right.
intentionally to come in. Well, then
Wow.
once I come in, then it becomes about what am I going to do with it?
Right.
And what is that curriculum? What I would say is that every single person is here to learn self love.
Mm, mm,
You cannot say that you love other people if you
mm,
don't love yourself.
mm.
You can't give away that which you do not have to give. That's the hardest struggle of mankind
Yeah,
is learning how to love yourself. To me, that is freedom
yeah.
of getting to
Mm,
the point of getting over my opinions, my guilt, my blame, my shame, my judging myself and saying, I'm an imperfect being and that is perfect.
yeah,
And I'm in my
yeah.
journey. And as you do this, and I know you're having a very,
Yeah, yeah,
I want to honor you in that. And we'll work with you just a little bit. How about that?
yeah. Oh, yes.
Um,
It just resonates true. Tammy speaks to the heart. Thank
it
you.
does. It is the heart.
Yeah.
We're here suffering needlessly because we actually chose it. So none of us are victims.
Mm, right,
None of us are victims. So
right,
once we go from that disempowered state to,
right.
I'm not a victim, I'm just going to get on with the curriculum, it's
Mm,
really good to find a mentor to do it with. I did
yeah,
not have that mentor. I was mad at God for that.
yeah,
Why did you not bring me the mentor? Why are you using me? But I'm actually needing help right now.
yeah,
And that is because God wanted me to learn it a certain way. And
yeah,
once I learned it, now I will guide other people to learn it that same way that works for me. It's not the only way. I'm not
yeah.
the only one, but I am one way. And if it resonates,
Mm,
then look at working with me because I've done it. When
yeah,
you look for mentors, when you look for intuitives, when you look for people that you can learn from, listen to their story. If they have not overcome a lot, run from them.
right.
Run
Mm,
because
mm,
they can't guide you home to you if they haven't done it for themselves.
Right.
So these abilities get uncovered as you go, and we actually earn these abilities, as well as guides, angels,
Mm.
masters, people who come and visit us, who stand with us while we're walking through a specific thing. We're never alone. We're supported. And
Ah.
so one of the most wonderful things that happened to me while I was recovering from going into homelessness, recovering from homelessness, learning how to use conscious alchemy, creating nothing,
Mm.
something from nothing, literally within an hour.
Yeah.
There were times, Valeria, that if I didn't get in alignment, I was not going to eat that day.
Right.
I would literally have to use the spiritual laws and principles to get an alignment, to get a meal, and I never went without a meal. So I knew that I had to overcome this overwhelming feeling of I'm lost, I'm playing small. I
Mm.
did it to myself. Why did I give this guy my money? Why did he steal it from me? Why? None of that helps. None of it. It just perpetuates it. So
Mm.
I knew enough when I got to that point in my curriculum that if I didn't get in alignment and say, I choose to have a meal for lunch, I wasn't going to have it,
Yeah.
but I would get in alignment and then the miracle would come.
Mm.
And the way the miracle comes, what God does is so full, so rich, so loving that everybody that is involved is touched so deeply, so about love. So even when you're in the thick of it, you're of service.
Yeah. Isn't
If
it
you
interesting?
are looking at what can I do with this instead of what is wrong with me?
Mm. Right. Right.
Because I really, I mean, I did things very dramatically, which, by the way, is what
Yeah.
all those do. We do things very dramatic.
We tend to go extreme a lot of times. Everything you say resonates very true. And when it does, when something resonates true, I cry. I don't know why. This body, mind. So I don't know exactly where it is. It's almost like a feeling of finally meeting another human being who understands. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. To
That's
finally,
the point, isn't it? To
yeah,
find someone else. And that's what
yeah,
my best friend said.
yeah,
She said, Tammy, you've been mad at God for not giving you the mentor. You have become the mentor that you
right.
wanted. And I went, oh, now I'm going to.
Yeah.
I went, oh, that's why I went through it this way
Uh-huh.
because I know what it's like
Right.
to feel alone
Yeah.
and not to feel like you've got somebody holding your
Mm.
hand, speaking your language, which is what
Yeah.
this book is all about.
Right.
Speaking your language, reaching you where you are and going, honey, I have answers for why you're experiencing what you're
Yeah.
experiencing.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of work before. You've earned abilities,
Mm.
and every single person can have them. I'm not unique. I'm not special. I just did the work. And I can teach others how to do the work, and then they have those abilities.
I love that, Tammy, that you it I wonder what it takes. Would you say being open, isn't it? Like when you speak of alignment. So transcending fear, making that choice and being in alignment with the universe, with God, with the divine force in you that is calling. And it's, as I said before, it's here now. It's not hidden. We're just not seeing for different reasons. I also wonder why some people in our lives and some people in this reality, they don't see what we see. Is that because, yeah, they're younger souls? So, what a fantastic dance! It's almost like this dancing at this stage of dancers, ones with more abilities than others, so we can kind of dance, because if we all know how to dance, that would have been a different reality anyway. So I try to make sense of this a lot of times without trying to change anything, because that's not really, I really believe that there's something happening here that it's not meant to happen, but it's how it's happening. It's divine, we can say destiny or divine plan, design. There's nothing really to change. So how do we learn to be at peace and not constantly trying to change others around us and trying to make them learn faster their lessons?
Well, that's one of the predicaments of being an older soul, Valeria, is that we see things from a very broader view. A good way to describe it is that we're actually above the tree lines. So
Mm,
we're seeing more. So
yeah,
people that are stuck in the forest, we know will go around and around and around.
yeah,
I've actually done it before when I was lost in the woods. And I was like, that's not possible, but I'll come back to the same tree, the same area.
yeah,
Oh, yes, I did. So
yeah.
that's what,
Mm,
as you climb the rungs of the ladder or the mountain, or you do this work, then your vision expands. And so consider
ah,
that you're above the tree lines, and then all of a sudden you can actually see where the other people are.
right. Yeah.
Your visual, like if you think about
Mm,
God, the concept of God being in heaven looking down on us, he's got the
yeah,
best view ever.
right,
You know,
right,
spirit has the best view ever. We're
right.
seeing it from a very narrow, and
Mm,
the more less work we've done, the more narrow our vision
right.
is.
True.
And if you're a narcissist, you're in such a small box, you can't even see anybody else or anything else. That
Right,
world is so small, there's no room for anybody else in it because the box
right,
just barely fits you.
right.
An older soul already knows that we don't live in a box. They can't stand being stuck. They
Mm,
can't stand being still. They can't stand not growing. They
mm,
can't stand not moving and
right,
feeling that there's a sense of accomplishment. So there's
right.
certain things that I would
Mm,
say are implanted that's really good in that 65 signs for
yeah.
you to see, oh my gosh, this explains it. This explains why I felt this way. This explains why you're the only one in the family like you. I mean,
Mm,
you're the only one around like you because what you see, what you experience, what you hear, what you feel is from a much broader view or above the tree lines. Whereas the
ah,
people that you're trying to communicate with are seeing this far. And you're
ah,
going, don't you see this? Don't you see this?
right,
No, they can't.
right.
They can't see it. So an older soul really would do very well to learn what their role is, how to respect other people in their journey,
Mm,
and how not to step in unless they're guided or asked.
ah,
Does
right.
that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. It really does. What comes in the way a lot of times, not claiming that I am an older soul, although I do feel like I
Oh,
am,
you are.
uh,
You will not be crying right now.
it's a feeling too. Yes, something that I can't explain. I guess the greatest challenge is this heartfelt urge to see this reality, a much better one, loving one, a peaceful one, and that makes uh, this sometimes this body and mind to react and to suffer really, because I don't react in a sense of or respond in a sense of violence or aggression or anything, but then sadness sets in, and then I start to become sad with the situation. So I wonder how to manage that. I don't know if something that can be managed, but it's I finally accepted everything as it is, even the way I respond to the people around me who yet don't know certain things with sadness, and that's okay. Is that something that you have done too, Tammy, or it's
What
natural?
if I told you that you don't even have to be sad
Ah,
when you
right.
see this world?
Mm,
You become more of a witness. What's happening, Valeria, to
mm,
put it in a
yeah.
very succinct way that's easy for you to understand, is that your sensitivities, empathic abilities, means that you are literally plugging into people when you feel sad.
Right.
And that, believe it or not, as harsh as this may sound, there's no easy way for me to put this,
Yeah.
is a form of judgment when you think something is wrong
Mm,
or
right.
something is right or they need to learn or
Mm,
they need to see it.
right.
It would be wise to say, "Wow,
Mm.
that's entertaining, and I see where you are in your journey and how brave you are to be here." So the way I look at imagine if I took on the energy as an empath. I mean, I've had my tongue swell. I've felt the choking around the neck where people hung themselves. I've felt the heart attack. I've felt all these ailments, hurting underneath the knee one day. I mean, all kinds of things that I pick up on. Somebody's back hurting. If I held on to that as an empath, what I do is I'll say, thank you for letting me know. I feel it in my body. I know they're experiencing this. And thank you for letting me know. But then, even then, Valeria, even though people
Yeah.
hire me this morning, this lady is talking to me and she didn't say one word about anything on her body. And I'm like, it's been hurting.
Yeah.
I can tell you what it feels like. I can describe it for you.
Wow.
And that's freedom to know that you're known.
Mm.
To know that there's somebody in the world that can bridge that gap from where you are to who you really are. And I'm that intercessor that goes, okay, you're acting like this, but you're really this. Let's take that journey and bridge that gap. So even in doing that one thing for that client this morning, it made her know without a
Yeah.
shadow of a doubt, I'm watched, because nobody knew that my back was hurting. And now Tammy not only told me that my back was hurting, but she told me why and what
Right.
decisions I could make
Right.
to stop my back from hurting.
Ah,
So the physical is showing you symptoms of what you are doing in the emotional realm.
right. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm still having those judgments of from the human perspective, narrow perspective, right and wrong, right? When we see the world, the violence and all the unkindness, and then you say, oh, this is not right. That's the first kind of I mean, it's not really my first. I have learned to accept and just be in harmony with everything. But then when it comes to closer family members, that's the hardest one to really,
That's
um,
where
yeah,
that's where the burden is tough.
right, yeah. So that really feels like the with the lessons they get much more
What's
interested.
happening is this. I'm going to give you two examples. 9/11, 9/11 here,
Yeah,
2001.
yeah.
Um, my view of that is very different from what most people are, is because when I saw the people jumping out of the buildings, I was watching when their spirit left,
Yeah,
knowing
right,
knowing that their spirit left and they didn't even feel the pain of the landing.
right.
I could tell you exactly by looking at the pictures where the spirit left of the human being. What people were in that space, believe it or not, they agreed to go. I know people personally that decided not to go to work that day, who worked
Wow.
on the 89th floor, the 90th floor, or went up wherever. There were people that were having affairs and
Oh,
didn't go to work. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things. There's a lady in Greenville, South Carolina, that has a plane ticket. She was on the second plane that was supposed to hit the second tower. That morning, she gets up and knows, don't go, don't go, don't go. Her boss threatened her and said, if you don't go, you're going to get fired. She said, fire me. So
wow.
there's an inner knowing, Valeria, of every single thing that we go through that each of us get to individually choose to go through. A victim doesn't get to choose, remember? So
Yeah.
the people that were in 9/11 experienced this for unknown millions of reasons. I am not to judge whether it was
Right,
right or wrong for an
right,
individual to be there or not to be there,
right,
because people were choosing that morning whether to go or stay.
right.
Because some of them I know stayed, some of them I know went. It's fascinating. And then when you
Mm,
transfer that to what you're experiencing, I will tell you that any kind of an emotional response to something that someone else is doing is never about them,
mm,
it's about you.
right, right.
So what I would offer is, how can I use my mother, my father, my brother, my
Yeah.
sister when I am triggered and I see something that needs to be fixed? I'm going to turn the mirror around and go,
Mm,
Tammy, what is it
mm,
in you that they are
mm,
showing you?
right.
Now, believe me, I've used this in dating. And
Ah, you did.
needed to start dating again.
Mm,
First guy was very defensive. And I was
yeah.
like, what is wrong with you?
Yes.
What's so much wrong with you? doing? You're so defensive. I was so quiet and calm, reserved, and just listening.
Yeah.
And after a little while, I realized, honey, you're not using the principles again. So I said, all right, what is this guy showing me that is defensive in me?
Yeah.
And you're not going to believe what I was told. Tammy, even though you are being very quiet and just listening to him and you're not causing him to be defensive, he is showing you that you are defensive. And I'm like, what? I put my hands on my, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Did you know that even in talking on the phone with this guy, because you don't trust men, you're going, I'm watching you. That's your mindset. And I went, oh, it hurt. So I changed that, and guess what? That guy flew away like a bird.
Yeah.
And then the next guy came in and showed me something else. And I'm like, okay, what are you showing me that I can overcome with this one?
Wow. So that's exactly how it works. And I wonder why it takes so long. It feels like it's a long time to understand these things, to work with them, to do the work, as you say. For some of us, takes it's making that decision to do the work. And
well, let me just say that working with the older souls is a challenge because all of you guys are hard-headed. Strong-willed because you know enough to get yourselves into trouble. However, if we get into our lane, literally our lane, and we start playing the game, the reason that we came down here to play it, life gets fun and it gets easy. And the manifestations and the miracles and the way that you function is really enjoyable because most older souls want to check out. We don't want to be here.
Yeah, I do remember going through that too. And that's when everything that I do today is started, because I was trying to hide what I was really all about. The soul wanted to express. And that in that moment, I made that decision. Okay, I either check out from the body or I just become what I came here to become. If there's something to become, which is already here, I really don't believe in becoming something because we already are.
We have to uncover it. That's our problem. We're wearing other people's clothes, trying to do a fake identity, have a fake persona, not living our truth, don't even know who we are or what we want.
Yes, right. Another challenge that I find is trying to be as humble as possible so I don't get people upset around me. So sometimes I play very small in that sense because some people, they tend to get really upset and angry, and it kind of, so I would love to hear that from you. I want to go through some of the signs too, because they made me laugh and cry. Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about one of the signs now. We as older souls have problems with our throat chakras because we have learned that when we speak the truth and we're seeing things that other people don't see, people want to act like we're a know-it-all, or we make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We make people very uncomfortable because we're much more honest. If you see a movie where somebody is really being truthful and honest, you'll see those same traits, where they're making people uncomfortable, but it's so refreshing to see somebody being honest. It's the better question, Valeria, would be, when do I use my voice and when do I stay quiet? And when do I share? When is the person really wanting to grow? And when is it actually of service that I'm just in training? So I'll give you an example of that. So this all happened to me at the age of 11 years old. So overnight, I accepted Jesus in my heart. I'm communicating on a totally different level. I am hearing voices. I'm getting information. I'm learning things all about the kids at school. I'm talking to them. I'm sharing with them. I'm giving, because I started to realize the pattern was that I knew things that they didn't know. Some of them didn't know their grandmother was in the hospital and that she almost died, and she'd been in the hospital for 3 days. And then the parents are like, you can't play with her anymore. We don't want you to know that your grandmother. So I got really frustrated in my early 20s, Valeria, going, well, why do you tell me these things? Why do I know these things if I can't talk about them?
Right.
If I'm not supposed to share them? Because there's a knowingness that older souls have, that we kind of have more equipment. It's not that we're more than or less than. It's that if you look at the journey, we're here in the journey and somebody else is here in the journey and somebody's here and somebody's here and somebody's here and somebody's here. According to how far along you are in the journey is according to your awareness, simply put.
True.
Like I said, above the tree lines.
Yeah.
So when you are with other people and they're uncomfortable with what you have to say, then there is a reason you are in that space. So I got confused. I got really upset and said, why do I have this information if I can't talk about it? It felt like I was being tormented because I was alone and I knew these things. But if I brought them up, they're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I would get upset. So I asked one day, and guess what I heard? Tammy, did you notice that not once did we ask you to say it? I'm like, what do you mean? I said, we weren't telling you these things for you to tell them. We were telling you these things because you were in training so that you would understand what jealousy feels like, so that you would understand what this kind of pain feels like, so that you could understand it. We wanted you to understand why the people were behaving the way they were. Yeah. We weren't asking you to tell them.
Yes. Wow. That's that's a big one.
There's a higher wisdom in everything. And usually the higher wisdom is connect and ask.
Yeah.
Why am I seeing this right now? Why am I aware of this right now? And nobody else in the room is.
Right.
What is this doing for me? How do we want to use this? When I got that information and I was told, you're in training, you're an empath, you're sensitive, we're acclimating you to this person. I could feel their pain before they started crying. And then I'm like, so when is she going to cry? Because I know she's going to cry. I can feel it. I can feel her pain. When is she going to acknowledge that? I got smart and just let it happen.
Yeah.
And then when it would happen, or sometimes I'd start crying going, I feel you, but I wouldn't tell them what. I would just say, I feel you. And then that would open the door. That would open the door. Sometimes you have to humor people. There was a lady that came to my house that I knew the night before was about to kill herself. And I was asked at 8:30 at night, will you help this lady that's suicidal? We're going to send her to your house from North Carolina, another state. And I'm like, okay. So the next day at 2:00, you remember the lady we talked to you about that was suicidal? Yes. Well, she's lost in your neighborhood, just like we told you she would be. She's coming soon. I said, okay. By the time she came to my door, I did not see her, but I had my hand on the doorknob.
Wow.
And I was just waiting. So when I opened the door, when she knocked, I opened the door and she said, that was quick. I said, nope, I've been waiting on you since 8:30 last night.
Wow.
And she couldn't understand it. And I said, you live in North Carolina and you're driving a Mercedes, and I did not see you pull in. I said, you got a really nice house in the mountains of North Carolina and you live on the edge of a cliff. And she's like, how do you know this? And I said, well, just humor me for a minute. She said, I'm lost. I was just going to ask for directions. I said, yeah, I was told you would do that. I said, but humor me. I walked outside my door and I said, would you look across the street at my neighbors? Are they out on their porch? She said, yes. I said, how far is their porch from the road that you just came on? She said, maybe 15, 20 feet. I said, look at my house. It's brick pillars with the bars and gates. You drove in my house? Do you really think you're just here? Or do you think that there's a reason that you're here? She said, can I come in? I said, please. And as she crossed the threshold, she felt the energy and she started crying and said, I decided, and she stopped and I said, to kill yourself, but you're not because you're here.
Yeah.
And she didn't.
Wow.
So if we only knew, Valeria, how much we're loved, how much we're cared for, how much we're watched, we lose about 100 hairs a day. And so when you're watched that closely and you're not reaching for that help, I don't know what to do with this. I was doing that this morning. There's something going on with me health wise. I went to Africa and now my abdomen is swelling again. And I said, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm paying attention. My abdomen's swollen. It's not beyond me. There's a peace in that. There's a peace in agreeing with what's going on,
Mm,
surrendering to it, and then really stepping into power and saying, I'm going to use
mm, yeah. Wow, what a beautiful teacher you are. I know you're beyond that level of teaching because what you're doing is you're being the message itself, transmitting this truth through the appearance of you. So thank you so much for being open to that.
I love every single one of you. And I am you. A lot of people tell me when they meet me in person, or like the physicist studied my brain, he said, you're not real, you're an angel, you're a god, you're a god, you're an angel, you're supernatural. And I said, then explain all the pain I've been through.
Yeah.
Explain the homelessness, explain the problems. I'm really no different. I've just done that work.
Yes. And that's what it's all about, doing the work. And I don't want to ask any more questions about that. Why some of us don't do the work. So that's why you are here. I love the dedication in your book. It's truly, truly beautiful and
Oh, would
heartfelt.
you read that out loud?
Oh my God, yeah. It says, to you who have suffered for being different, conspired to have many people play disturbing roles in your life so that you could grow, and for having the willpower and tenacity to stay in the game. It is for you that I write this book. I see and know you, for I am you.
Yes.
Yeah, that, I mean, just that dedication alone. I mean, the book is amazing, but the dedication is just, again, it stopped me completely in that moment. It was just like a timeless moment. Um, and then I wanted to, I have so many of the signs that I really kind of, was heartfelt. There was one, I guess I want to, the one that made me laugh. I mean, I love when you said something really funny here. I love sense of humor because we do need that. You say, I think, yes, sign 28. You say, you don't understand why we are not all sitting by the campfire and singing kumbaya, kumbaya with each other while holding hands.
Yes.
You know that we could and would be better for it, and you cannot figure out why people cannot just love each other.
Yes.
That made me laugh, and then I was kind of serious, a little serious in the end because, yeah, it's really, yeah, why not just love, right? So easy, feels much more. I mean, it feels to me like it's so much more easy to just love than to fight, because that's really, to me, the opposite of love, fighting everything.
We came here to experience those contrasts. So, an older soul is more aware of the need for love and connection. And yet, we have a
Ah,
tendency to separate ourselves because it's too much, just too much. Go away, too much.
yeah.
The energy's too much. So, we have a tendency to hide. And it doesn't work because we know that we actually came here to sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, I love
Over
that.
here, it's actually very innocent,
Yeah,
and
I
we're
love
very
that.
childlike. And because of that, we're taken advantage of by people.
Yeah. So, oh my God, there's so many, so many, so many, so many. Let me see. There's, it's 16. You say, you would rather be gracious, kind, and understanding to others instead of holding them accountable for their actions. So that's a choice that I often make. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's amazing reading all these signs because it is. It is a sign that you are here, that you're not
Yes.
there, and
Mhm.
wow, how amazing it is to experience this timeless divine connection. which is not really a connection because we are already, I mean, it's not connected because it was never separated. So there's no need for connecting anyway. It's just the whole, I love the way you say that too, that everything is what it is in the sense of having its own experiences. So it's almost like the divine having different experiences.
It is
Um,
really. They say that we're here for entertainment. God, what
yeah,
kind of entertainment did we sign up for?
right. That is, I mean, I keep asking questions. I guess I ask questions to myself, and I do the meditations and those questions just to, um, in each moment when it's difficult and when it's not even, what am I to see? What is this about? Even when it feels good, because I know that there's no difference too between pleasure and pain. So I'm always kind of trying to find the harmony between them, kind of bringing them together. But in the end, what something in me or the soul, whatever it is, wants to do is to find that space enough to accept at all and just feel free, which you mentioned earlier about playfulness, and just start, having fun with this instead of judging or rejecting or fighting. So I guess I'll ask you. I have so many of the signs here. The book is just incredibly um, insightful. For me, it
Thank
was
you. That's
beyond
what a lot
that.
of people are saying. I think that
Yeah,
it puts a puzzle together for a lot of people.
right, right. To me, it's beyond insight, of course, because I feel connected with everything that you say. So it's beyond that. It's almost like um, it's being in touch with a knowledge that's already known. It's like knowledge. It's just recognizing and realizing these things with words and from another human being. But how amazing! I love everything about you, Tammy. I love your courage
Oh, thank
too.
you.
Uh, because I know how challenging it has been. It has been for you, it has been for me, and so many others in this reality. So thank you for being courageous, for being open to this game. Thank you.
Mhm. Well, I was either going to learn how to do it and really thrive in it, or I just wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I very often wanted to go. Now I'm to the point of, is it time yet, or you want me to stay? I'm good staying. I'm good going. I'll keep playing. What I would say that my motive is that the good news is that this journey is difficult. It's not for cowards. It's not easy.
Right.
And it's
Right.
really not easy because we're all kind of brainwashed.
Right.
And the way that we look at life and the way that we look at issues and problems and contrast and dichotomies is off.
Right.
Simply put, it's off.
Right.
If we understood how to look at it, we'd be free.
Yeah.
And we would not be experiencing all of the pain that we are. We would not be experiencing the discomfort. We would not be living small. And we certainly would not be acting
Mhm.
like we're stuck or can't have what we want.
Right.
So these are like uh, alchemy. Like there's a whole program that I'm going to do that will probably take a year to get somebody through alchemy to where you literally can say or think something and it comes to life.
Wow.
It actually comes to you. I have been working on that my entire life. I proved it over and over and over again. I know the recipes, I've got methods, I've got ways to do it. But in the same light, working with older souls and really getting to that point of stop suffering. The only reason we're suffering is because our mind and the way that we perceive things. So if we perceive things as being problems, we're not balanced because the world is showing us the dichotomies and the contrast.
Mm. Mm.
The law of polarity is a good
Right.
example of that, of
Right.
you're going to have equal and opposite. So if you're only looking at the limited or the lack of or the problems, you're not balanced in the mind. When you're not
Right.
balanced, you're not in alignment with the truth. And
Mhm.
when you're not in
Mhm.
alignment with the truth, then you're going to suffer,
Right.
period.
Right.
We really don't have to suffer. We have not been taught well, but those of us who are ready for that teacher will find that teacher.
Yeah, I have heard about that. When we are ready, the teacher will show up.
Yeah.
So that sounds a little bit like the law of attraction, but it's
There's
not,
a lot of,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
whatsoever you think upon expands. That's
yeah,
one of my quotes. The laws of attraction premise is basically two things. Whatever you think about grows. Whatever you put your attention on grows. I can explain that in a way that I think will be understandable to those of you who are watching or listening. And that is that we are source energy. We can't unplug from that source
right,
energy, no matter
right,
what we do, no
right,
matter how much pain we're in, no matter how much we're suffering, no
right.
matter if we're sick or well or suffering or having the rewards. The reason
Yeah.
that I keep doing the work is the rewards. And I'll
Mm,
tell you something else. The more people that want to grab my hand and have me guide them home to them, the more people I have on the playground to play with me.
yeah.
And then I got feel alone. So there's a motive for me to do it, which you would say is kind of selfish. But if it's not about me, if I leave myself
Mm,
out, I can't include you. I can't,
right, right.
because it's a wholeness of a whole
Mm,
inclusion of me and you and them.
right,
So I
right.
do it because the rewards are beyond what you can fathom.
Yeah,
I do it because the epitomes and epiphanies and the information that I get and the ease that I get and the peace that I get and the joy, the pure joy of
mm,
watching one person get it.
yeah.
One person like you today waking up, it's like I'm tapping you on the cheek, like, you know
Yeah,
this, wake up.
yeah, yeah,
Remember?
yeah. Remember. So that's
Remember
the joy comes from that place, and it's not selfishness; it's self-love, right, Tammy? To feel
self-love,
that
and
way.
self-love means I love you.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's was the message when I chose or decided or could see this option of being more of me or more of that soul. Then that was the message, self-love. I remember like so clearly. That's why the name of the website I have is Fit for Joy, because you're already fit for that joy. There's nothing missing, like you said. You're already connected with the divine, with that source. There's no separation. You can separate, impossible.
Right.
um, so before we end the conversation today, I have so many of the signs you have no idea. Because the book was online, so I read and I just copy and paste everything here.
That's
um,
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I'm glad.
Gosh, yeah,
I was
and
awakened and told, don't do the relationship book first, do this first. They need this. People are crying for this. And I went, okay, okay. You know more than I do.
right. And what is the best way to work with you, Tammy, through your website? What is the best way to contact you if somebody wants to work with you as a teacher?
They can actually schedule on my website at their leisure anytime they want to. I do have multiple things going on. I'll just tell you about them really quickly.
Yeah.
I have a workshop in Austin coming up in October, and that is called Older Souls Unleashed. I haven't even promoted that. I haven't told my audience about it. Sign up on my email. If you sign up on my email, guess what? You get to ask me one question, and as you're intuitive, I will give you that one answer. So that's a reason to sign up for my email. I get a lot of free content on social media. There's quotes every single weekday. There's YouTube videos. There's everything you can imagine on social media. I am giving away a lot of free content, free things to think about. I have a fast track your growth program for 90 days that it's going to have 5 videos a week for 90 days and live sessions. That's something I'm not really promoting yet, but I'm going to. And then there is an Older Souls Tribe that I'm putting together that is a year-long program. I want to start working more with groups of people rather than just individuals. I do work with individuals and I do mentoring. And Valerie, you'll love this. The name of my mentoring
Mm-mm.
program is Confusion to Clarity.
Yeah,
We're so
that's
confused. And
right.
then when you get the
Ah,
clarity is when you can make a decision. You can't make a
right,
decision when you don't have the clarity.
right.
So then there's a
Right.
life and breakthrough transformation. There's quite a few things that I'm doing, and I'm doing 2 of those in the next week. I've got a lady flying in tomorrow, flying out Sunday, another one coming in Tuesday, and she leaves Saturday. So that's where you work one-on-one with me for days.
Wow.
That's the fastest track way to grow.
That all sounds really wonderful. And I'll have the website on this, the video interview at the bottom.
Thank you.
And I mean, it's just such a beautiful work. I mean, the word's really wonderful because it has to do with wonder too. So we are just wondering how we make this reality more peaceful and loving and playful, as you say, coming together and just understanding ourselves better. I love that idea of from confusion to clarity, right?
Yeah.
Because tell me about it. I need to be part of your program. I have to think. I have to
I would love to
schedule that.
have you. I would love to have you.
Oh, that would be like such an amazing experience to have, in a sense of growth from that place. But
Mhm.
before we end the conversation today, I do have two questions. One, actually, I already mentioned the website, tammydemirza.com, and I'll have that link there.
Thank
But
you.
before we end today, I would ask, what is one of your favorite signs? Is there one that you feel like it's the one that most of us share, is the most shared uh, older soul sign? Is there one of them?
Wow, that is really a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second.
Yeah,
I would say that there's a top 3,
yeah,
and one of them is that you have felt alone your entire life, and knowing that you really don't fit in, which was one of the main ones that you said.
yeah,
That's actually the sign of you being an older soul. You know you
yeah.
don't fit in, you know you're not like everybody else, but embracing that is the problem. If you don't
Ah,
embrace it, you can't really feel like you can move forward. Secondly,
right.
we have a tendency to want to pull ourselves and become very reclusive and be
Mhm.
alone when actually we need the opposite. We came here
Ah,
to be connected and to be a part of other people's lives. But when we go about doing it from the perspective of, I've got to be of service, I've got to be of service, I came here to do something big.
mm, mm.
I just said the third one. The big
Yeah,
thing is a
yeah,
pressure that you
yeah.
feel that you came to do. But when you're confused about what that looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what the wisdom is, and what being of service is, you would know that just by you breathing here as an older soul with your awareness is enough. You're
Mm.
already being of service because you're different.
Wow.
And your presence, your
Mm,
essence shifts the energy. You can walk into a store and people in the store know
mm,
something just happened in here.
yeah.
That love energy that we are getting closer to bonding with, remembering with, becoming one with again
Mm,
is so impactful to other people just by being in the same space.
mm.
You know, Valeria, when you're around people that have done the work and you know that it's oh, I just want to sit here. I just want to sit here. You know,
Yes, it
I'll
is the
have
case. Yeah,
people,
now.
and that's a reconnection for you. You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not
It-
alone. And Valeria, I just want to say to you, what you're doing is huge, and
oh,
you are seen and you are loved. And I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit
yes.
interesting.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to throw away your measuring stick that you judge
Mm,
yourself with.
mm, mm.
Another trait of being an older soul is that
Yeah.
we measure ourselves, never measuring up, but everybody else we're
Yeah.
gracious to,
Yeah.
not setting boundaries. So boundaries is a big
Mm.
thing for you right now.
Uh,
Boundaries is a really big thing for you, but with your measuring tape that has you judging yourself, you can't set the boundaries because with the measuring tape comes a lot of self-doubt.
yes. It's amazing how you can get to the core of it. That's
Very
incredible.
quickly.
Yeah, like like magic. I mean, I call it miracle. It is. That's the miracle of being aware of this divine essence that we all share. So you are able to, I mean, you're able to see it. Yeah, that's exactly it. The boundaries, right, in the judgment of myself. Okay, I want to say lesson learned, but it's a process, isn't it? We want to say lesson learned. I'm
So let me
done, and
give you
that's good.
something to help you and your
Yeah.
viewers and your listeners with this. If you are finding yourself in any single thing that I have said, then I'm going to give you something to do, and that is to make a decision. So I know, Valeria, and I know your heart, and I know that you want to get this, right?
Oh
You want
yes,
to get this. I've
yes, of
I've
course.
hit the nail on the head. You're
Yes.
struggling with boundaries, and the
Yeah.
reason you're struggling with boundaries, I even went even further and said because of your lack of you're judging yourself, your measuring stick that I'm going to ask you to throw away.
Mm.
What I would say to spirit, to God, to the universe, to your spirit, your soul, to the universe, however you want to frame that. God doesn't fall off his throne because we
No.
don't say it that way. To me, it's love. God
Right.
is love. So
Right.
if I were to really talk to it, I'd say, love.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
I have
love that.
something to say. And that would be I acknowledge that I am struggling with self-judgment and not finding it easy to set boundaries. I didn't know that these two were connected.
Mm. Yeah.
And now I acknowledge that this is me right now. And I'm okay with that.
Mm. Yeah.
And I forgive myself. And I choose again.
Mm.
And what I choose is to be honest and say, I don't know how to stop this pattern of self abuse and judgment. I don't know how to set boundaries. Now I know from Tammy's book and what she's given is that that is common to older souls. So I'm really not special. I'm not different. I'm just an older soul that is struggling with these two signs right now. So show me how to change my mind and give me options when you catch me doing it. Not if you catch
Mm.
me,
Yeah.
when you catch me doing it. Pat me on the back or tap me or say, whatever your name is, sweetheart, what are you doing to yourself? You may even hear my voice. People tell me all the time I come to them, I minister to them, I talk to them, I walk through walls and hug them. Whatever form you believe love is, God will send you that form. It could be Jesus, it could be Mother Mary, it could be Abraham, it could be, these figures that are in the Bible, it could be Moses, it could be whoever, it could be me. It could be Valeria for those of you that listen to her.
It can be Tammy. Oh my God, it is Tammy now for sure.
And hearing that voice and
Thank
just
you.
saying, help me remember and show me the choices that I have. And I'll make the choice.
Yeah.
Do you see how honest and
Yes.
clean that is? There's no judgment in that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
admitting it,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
acknowledging it, it's not judging, but it's saying, I could use some help. I
Yes.
can't do this by myself. This is a pattern. This is what I do. This is how I act.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's thank you, Tammy. I really thank you for going deeper always. That's, I mean, you can't help it. I know it's not even a choice anymore for you to just
No.
go, yeah, go places and help people when they need. I mean, I feel it all. It's all over my body, in my mind. The mind now is being I feel dizzy almost. It's interesting. Trying to take all in. It seems the mind is trying to process everything. But thank you so much again for being who you are, which is
Thank you.
divine energy, which is source energy, and you know that. So thank you for recognizing that and seeing that in others. And thank you for the help and the support to all of us that are struggling with the human form and the constructs and the patterns and the um, the painful ideas and concepts we still have in the mind, the conditioned mind. So thank you so much for being you again and your presence here today. And we'll talk soon. We'll
Thank
meet
you
again.
for all that you're doing, Valeria. It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. I love it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's about to get better, actually, to get even more fun when we start meeting in person. Oh my God, I can't wait to meet you too. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. We'll meet again.
Okay. All right.
Bye
Bye,
for now,
sweetie.
Tammy. Bye.